This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
There is always a journey each of us needs to take. I am grateful for my journey. It was healing and spiritual. When a tough journey enters our life, it is for a reason, and instead of fighting it, embrace it. Though not easy at first, doors close and open for a reason. We learn, become stronger, brace a higher power, and the most important is never ever give up on yourself. Mary. Valeria interviews Mary Kay Savarese, the author of The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper and Tigers Love Bubble Baths and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? Mary Kay Savarese is an award-winning, Amazon best-selling, traditionally published fiction author and speaker. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, she earned a degree in accounting from City University and worked with the insurance and financing world. Known for her quirky titles, Mary's debut novel has received 5 stars and 8 awards. Tigers Love Bubble Baths and Obsession Perfume, Who Knew?, is a mystery romance intertwined with the supernatural. Her recently published novel, The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper, is a fantasy adventure trilogy and the first of the StarWriters trilogy, incorporating time travel and romance. Fantasy fans of high school age and older who look for a blend of mystery, history, romance, and spellbinding intrigue will relish the journey and discoveries which defy time, space, and death. The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper was just awarded the NYC Big Book Award for Fantasy and was an international CIBA finalist for first and grand prize. U.S. Review of Books has compared The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper to Doctor Who and A Wrinkle in Time. Mary appears on iHeartRadio, podcasts, Mindalia TV, cable, YouTube, local publications, and UK radio. After living in Massachusetts, Mary raised her family in Connecticut. She presently resides in Florida, where she spends her time writing, entertaining, and unusual stories that pique her readers' interests. Meet Mary at marykaysavarese.com and StarWritersTrilogy.com. Here's the interview with Mary Kay Savarese.
In your own words, who is Mary Kay Savarese?
Hello, Valeria. It's just such a wonderful pleasure to be here with you. Who is Mary Kay Savarese?
Yes.
Somebody who is always looking to improve herself. I am a traditionally published fiction author, which in itself was a 10-year journey for myself. And I love to say, and I'm an overnight success, but I am a 10-year overnight success. And I am an author that is influenced by events in my life. And I love to write with a quirky title. That's where I begin. And I have wonderful stories associated with my quirky titles, and I am known for those. And what else am I? I'm a wife. I'm a mother, a Eucharistic minister. I wear many hats as women do. And as we find out in our lives, things can be tricky at times.
So true.
But I look forward to many more wonderful things approaching me in life. And you hope they're all good, but sometimes we stumble, and we need to stumble for a reason.
Yes, that's a very good observation. To stumble, to suffer, to go
through challenges for a reason. What reason makes sense to you? Why do we suffer? What is the goal, per se, of going through all these challenges we go through here in a human body?
I truly believe it's to learn. It is to learn a valuable experience that gives us the wisdom to carry on. Because you always find out when you are challenged and you rise to that occasion, what do you end up with? Confidence. You end up with joy. You end up with motivation. So I think we are constantly challenged in our everyday life from the moment we wake up to the moment we lay our heads down and until our life here in this world is over. And if you try to think of it positively, then I think you can deal with it in a better aspect, because many times, and I go through this myself, we deal with it with wanting to hide. Yeah. Put me into a closet. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything because I don't want to fail. I don't want to have pain. But I think once you let go of that and you say, okay, let me experience today, no matter what it brings me, say a little prayer and just go out there, you find the strength.
It sounds very spiritual to me, the way you speak. So this might be a very good moment to ask you this question.
Yes.
What is spirituality to you, and what is to be spiritual?
Spirituality to me is everything, in the sense that I believe in a higher power than just being in this plane. I believe that I believe in a God, and I believe that we were put here for a reason and that we have a purpose in life. And what was your other question?
To be spiritual, the idea of being a spiritual person, what does it look like from your perspective?
Oh, from my perspective, I think it's to enter life with a joy, that it's a treasure to be held within our hearts, and to always have that hope. Because if you have hope, you always have a spiritualness that something, the next day will be better, that we can learn from this and we can move on.
So true. I usually don't use the word hope. I don't know why. I have replaced it with trust.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that too.
For some reason, it resonates more true to me, to the things, the activities of the mind and body, trusting, for some reason. Another topic that's fascinating is finding purpose in this lifetime. So I guess the question is, how do we know when we have found our purpose? What are the signs?
Well, we know when we find our purpose when I think it's something that you flourish to do every day. Now, we have other purposes, I truly believe, in our life. The challenges, those are also purposes. Life is not easy. It is not. And I don't care if you have everything handed to you or you have all the money in the world you could possibly want. Life is still hard because we are, I think, having faith, we will not have that peace, that genuine peace of no issues until we do move to that different plane, that different, when we pass on. But in this world, we have a purpose. So when we were young, we had a purpose to grow. You know, when we had our children, we got married, we had a purpose. And as we age, the more you find your purpose, the more you find joy in your life. So purposes do change. It's not that you're 15 and you go, okay, that's it. I found my purpose. I'm done. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Purpose is always, always changing. And when I found my purpose, and I found, I think, a joy to just live my life. I couldn't wait to get to it and to do it. So that's how I think when you find your purpose.
Yeah, so it is connected to joy. For me, it has a sense of inner peace too.
Yes.
Of course, they all come together. Beautiful answer. I love your wisdom, Mary.
Oh, well, thank you.
We still have a lot to talk about today,
Yes.
But it's beautiful to listen to you. And I'm going to ask you another open question. What do you know to be true about life today in this moment?
That life happens and life has twists and turns, and to wake up every day and embrace life. And that's how I look at it.
I love when you say that. It sounds very simple when you say life happens.
Yeah, and you know what, Valeria? I truly believe we think everything is so complicated, and life is complicated. But when you listen to somebody who truly has that inner peace, it's because they have found that simplicity in a life that is so complex. And we all stumble, we all fall. And many times, and this is, never ever give up on yourself. Try to pick yourself up again and take that next step. And sometimes that gives you that strength and energy to carry on when there are times you say, that's it, I can't go any further.
That's another powerful message. I actually have that as the title of this episode. Never, ever give up on yourself.
Yes.
That resonated so true to me. Reading your work, that was it. Don't give up on yourself. And then, of course, we have to unpack that. What does it really mean, not giving up on ourselves? How can we love ourselves and be true to ourselves and at the same time care for others and connect with them? How do we find that balance? So that has been a challenge for me for so many years to boundary work, being able to say no and not feeling guilty about it.
Yep. And, not only yourself, but everybody, because the first place I truly believe you have to begin is yourself. Before you can love others and do other wonderful things in other people's lives, you have to love yourself. Because when we don't like ourselves, then what happens is, as it happened for me, you build up a resentment, and all of those negative energies, right, are taken out on somebody else. Like, I know when I'm having a bad day, I feel sorry for my husband because I take it out on him. And while he does the same thing to me, and in my mind, I think, touche, you're having a bad day. Or my kids. I remember when the kids were growing and they were the teenagers, and they would just be so like, maybe they weren't nice to their mother or their father. They should be, but they were so frustrated over something. And the way to find that love for yourself, I truly believe, is once you do find that passion for something and you love it, you experience it, you gain confidence. And at that point, everybody in our world they're looking to say to you, no, you're not good enough. You're not this. And you tell yourself, stick with it. If it's such a passion in your heart, I truly believe, because that's what I dealt with, but it took me 10 years. Stick with it. And because that passion, number one, gives you that reason for purpose. So, it just helps you to take every day as a challenge and to trust. I love that word now, trust, and adding it to the hope that the next day will be better and something positive will happen. And I can tell you, it took me, Valeria, the 10 years. My goal was to become a traditionally published author. Back then, you didn't have what you have today, where self-publishing, those were taboos or other ways. So I stuck with it. Why? Because I loved it so much. The creativity just made me want to get up every day. And when I was happy with myself, oh boy, that energy goes out to everybody else.
It's all about being at peace here, solving conflicts within so we can solve conflicts out there. It's not possible to try to do that the other way around. And we do try that, I know. I tried it too, and it didn't work.
Yeah, and life is not easy. And I truly believe if you start with yourself and you love yourself, you are not going to let somebody walk all over you. And again, those are all the challenges in life, and everybody has them.
I needed to hear that. A lot of times not easy to express, because for me, I guess, has been one of my values is to express the truth or my truth in a kind way. So yes. Balance truth and kindness. It won't work for me if I'm just trying to be truthful, but then, I'm not kind about it. It won't make me feel good.
Exactly. Oh, kindness is wonderful. You get, all of a sudden you get this inner energy, right? And it just flows out. So
there's a flow to it. It feels natural to me to kind of combine truth and kindness. At this time, what do you feel is the world's greatest need?
What do I feel is the world's greatest? Oh my God, the world needs so much.
Yes,
but
true.
I mean, it's going to be, right? It's going to be your simplest answer. If we can, like in my faith, it's always been to show that love and compassion for your neighbor. And if you can do that and they can then do that, we can help each other. But, the world has so many problems. And I think if we each could do one good thing a day for the world, I think it just multiplies.
Yes, I agree. That's another powerful, beautiful message. Thank you. There's a word in one of your books that I'll try to pronounce here. Let's see. Take one. So you have published 2 books, fiction books, novels, and the titles are The Girl and the Toile Wallpaper and Tigers Love Bubble Bath and Obsession Perfume. Who knew? Oh my God, what an interesting title. So talk to me about the main inspiration and intention of writing these books.
Well, as I said, I've always, my whole life, I put it on the back burner because I worked in the finance field, and then I raised a family. And as you're raising a family, and I always had these desires for fantasy. I love to write in fantasy because life is too real, and that was my escape. But it went on the back burner. So I was influenced. My debut novel, titled Tigers Love Bubble Baths and Obsession Perfume, who knew, was an actual event in my life. I visited a wildlife reserve in St. Augustine, Florida. And it's like an old folks home for big cats, tigers, lions, panthers. And at the end of my tour, I see this big vat, 12 feet wide, 5 feet high, overflowing with bubbles. And I said, who is this for? And out walks this 600-pound Siberian tiger. I'm behind a very thin cage, and looks like as though he's taking off a rope, slips into this vat of bubbles, sticks his tongue out. The wildlife handler's there and sprays Obsession Perfume. And Valeria, I said, that is the title of my next novel. And it became a metaphor, because as these big cats are tossed aside and they're starting all over again in this reserve, my protagonist, the Tiger's book, is a mystery romance intertwined with a spiritual twist. And basically, my protagonist, Angie, is starting over again. She's tossed aside like an old shoe after 25 years of marriage, and she has to start again. But it is one murder after another. Is she the murderer? Or will she be murdered? So that's the journey I take the reader on. And the spiritual part comes in because the reader is allowed to witness something that happens to people she encounters. And they still have at the end, they may not be at the end of their lives, but they still have this burning in their heart for this one desire. And as their wish is fulfilled, that's where the death or the murders are coming in. So my protagonist never sees quite what is going on, but the reader sees everything.
Wow. What comes to me is this is coming from imagination, of course, as well, right, Mary? It's a combination of being inspired by the real world, as you call it, and then also being able to imagine. That fascinates me because I usually think about intuition and imagination as being one, but I'm not sure now if it is. They are connected.
And thus the purpose, like for me, this is my second chapter in my life because my first chapter was obviously, growing, getting married, having the family. And as they adulted, this became my chapter 2 in my life. And this gave me purpose because within my writing, I'm able to put in a spirituality to it, not a preaching, but a spirituality. And also at the same time, give you an escape. I love to write in fantasy because, as I say, my real life is too real.
Yes, that's interesting to hear. That is calling my attention to the way you say it. It's too real, huh? What is the difference between spirituality and religion?
You know what? I think it's each person. It says each person looks at that. I was raised a Catholic. So, and my faith is very important to me. So my spirituality comes from that. Some people look to a spirituality just in the way they live their lives. Some people look at nature. There are always different faiths. And for each person, I think it's a different journey. So it doesn't mean mine is right or yours is wrong or anything. It's really, I think, what helps a person through their lives. And sometimes it could be, like I said, it could be something simple as stepping outside your door and looking at the change of seasons. And for some people, that's their spirituality.
So that was the second book. The first, we didn't talk about the girl in the
Toile wallpaper. Now again,
yes.
I love to write with quirky titles.
Yeah,
now,
I see that.
Toile is such a part of our everyday lives, but people don't really know that it's called toile. And what toile is a wall covering or a fabric or a decor that is a vibrant, like two vibrant colors, and it tells a story. So you may have a scene, it could be anything, contemporary, colonial, it could be anything, antique, where you may see people frolicking, or you may see just standalone objects, but the scene continues and you have several different scenes, but it is so vibrant and it tells a story. So I had a wall covering when I lived in the Northeast, and I still love toile. I had many toile wall coverings, and I would walk by and I would see people, oh, they're having so much fun. I see love. I see betrayal. I see this. I see that. And I said, that's it. I'm writing a novel. And it became the first of a trilogy titled the StarWriters trilogy. And again, I take you on a fantasy journey in the contemporary, but I take you back in time to my protagonist. He's put into a toile with the girl that was put into a toile couple centuries ago, and he is going to be the reason. He is going to help her. Now, why was she placed in the Toile? Because of her family loyalty several centuries ago. And I take you into Florence, Italy and Siena, Italy. You had to marry who your family told you to marry, but your heart wants what your heart wants. So my main character, Lily, wants what her heart wants, but the antagonist wants her not to have what her heart wants, therefore places her into the Toile. And I just take you on this wonderful journey. And The Girl in the Toile Wallpaper incorporates romance, which it's just so wonderful to have in your life. So I have a coming of age romance. I have a 30-something romance. I have a 20-something romance. And unfortunately, I have divorce, which is the ending of a romance. But as I take you on this fantasy journey, I do put the spirituality into it, which is part of these people's lives and how they learn and how they move forward. And I have villains. I have wonderful people.
Yeah, wow. How incredible. And I don't have the habit per se to read fiction books.
Yes.
And then I was just listening to you, and it just makes so much sense that instead of watching a movie, it's better to read the book because we just visualize within our own minds, and it's not giving to us the visuals. Of course, everybody knows that, how powerful it is to have that experience. But you're getting me interested in fiction books. That's different, I would say. You say, when a tough journey enters our life, it is for a reason. And instead of fighting it, embrace it. That's an amazing thing to do if we can, to instead of fighting, resisting something, we just embrace it. I'm wondering how can we do that in a way that it feels natural? Because I can tell you from my own experience, I have tried and it didn't feel natural to embrace something that I didn't really agree with or didn't want to be close to.
Well, I felt just like you, Valeria, because when I was experiencing a severe anxiety, it manifested itself in my body through, I thought I was developing this disease. My arms were becoming numb. My legs were becoming numb. And I was fighting it. I was going to medical doctors and blah, blah, blah. And it was a journey I did not want to go on. It was like, but fine, give me that pill. Let me deal with the anxiety. Well, I learned, and now that I've crossed that bridge, I am grateful for the fact that I did go through that, and it and I was able to learn through therapy. I was able to learn, and at the time, Valeria, I was so ashamed that I couldn't handle it. I kept it hidden within me and I was silent. And once I started, it was a journey that took over a year and a half for me to figure out. And when I finally figured it out, it really was that my family unit died. It was dead. And that sounds so horrible. But what it meant for me was the babies I raised, the toddlers that I chased, the teenagers I stayed up all night. That part of my life was done. And I was not, on the outside, I said, oh, this is wonderful, blah, blah, blah. I have beautiful children that have become adults. They were still in my life. That wasn't it. It was just something within that subconscious I had to come to terms with as I aged. And once I was able to learn, didn't happen overnight, had to come to terms with it, then, God, as I say this, I'm always dealing, and as many women and men do, constantly dealing with anxiety. Everything in life is anxious, but if you have the right tools, that helps you. And then once you learn from that, then you can move forward.
What was the most helpful tool, Mary, for you? What would you say, like the number one tool, or was it a combination of them?
Oh, it was definitely a combination. It was realizing what the problem was. And it was something so simple as, Mary, think of a picture in your head that you visualize something that gives you such great joy and pleasure. And Valeria, what I envisioned in my head was my 3 children and my husband and myself standing around our island and preparing food together. And then I cried for a month, because that was where my journey began to heal myself. Like, what is going on in my life that I'm feeling all this anxiety and unhappiness and depression? And I just had to come to terms with the part of my life that had moved on. And that's where I had to find something that gave me pleasure. And that's where I was already writing, and I was not published yet, but my writing would give me such joy and such pleasure. And one thing you realize, when you have a passion for something, it takes you out of yourself, because you're just concentrating on that. So where does that anxiety go? That anxiety leaves for that point, for that moment, or that hour, or whatever. And then if you can learn how to do things like that to help you in dealing with it, then that makes such a difference.
Right. So focusing, kind of finding an outlet, something to focus on. It's not ourselves.
Yes.
Our own.
And by no means am I dissing medication, because I'm being honest with you and your audience. I did take anxiety medication, which, but for me, I learned that it wasn't the magic pill. I still had to do all the therapy and figure out how to work within that for myself, what was best. And when I was able to handle it from a point of strength, then I was able to wean myself. But I will never, and again, that was a learning journey. Whatever somebody is going through, you take them seriously, because they're suffering. They're suffering quietly sometimes. And that's where I always say, never, ever give up on yourself, ever. Stick with your passion. And I can promise you, not overnight, but someday, that your dreams will come true as well, if this is something that's such a part of your soul and your heart.
Mm. What makes writing so healing, Mary? Well, I see it as a spiritual practice as well, but on the healing side, what is it about writing that it's so healing?
Because it is used in therapy, because a therapist will tell you, write your thoughts down. Once you get them out of your head and you put them on paper, there's some kind of magic that happens.
Yeah, right. Right, that's it.
Right? But I love to write in fantasy. So I'm trying to make magic on paper. And that's what I love to do.
Oh my God, magic. That keeps coming back to me, that the world is too real. It's almost like you're coming from the soul, the spirit, that knows that this is actually not its final destination. It's not from here. So you're creating a different world that is more spiritual, more magical, as you say.
Right. And it doesn't have to be writing. For people, it's just walking in nature. It's helping other people. It's just doing what you love. And you know it when you love it. You want to jump out of bed and do it.
Yeah,
so
that's so true. That passion, the joy, that for me has been inner peace. In the beginning, like when I started interviewing people here with the podcast, it was so exciting that the body was all over the place. I couldn't stay still. And then now it's more grounded in a sense of peace. I feel a lot more grounded in inner peace. Like, wow, the heart feels very fulfilled and present.
Right. And thus you reached your purpose, right?
It feels like it really, really does feel. But I know it's not a destination. So I keep myself open to grow and evolve. Wherever life takes me or the heart takes me, that's the next place to go. It's not really a place, but it's the next, let's say, growth realm, and I'm always open to it. So there's another thing that caught my attention. You wrote, on the outside, I pretended to be happy, but I suffered silently because I was ashamed.
Yeah.
So that's another, that also caught my attention, stopped me there, because I was just wondering, why do we pretend to be happy? I did that too myself. Why are we so ashamed to be sad or to feel sad about certain things or certain situations in our lives or moments? I know they pass. Nothing stays the same. That's one thing that I always keep in mind.
Yes.
Whatever's happening will pass.
That is the most, if you can say anything at all, that is the most wonderful thing. If people get it into their head, what you exactly just said, it too shall pass. Right? So we're living in the moment like this is the most worst thing that could have ever happened. This too shall pass. But both men and women, not just women, we all experience this, because it's like we are supposed to be able to handle it. And if you can't handle it, you're considered weak. And so we all wear that face, that happy face, right? Everybody does. And many times we suffer silently with that. And that's what it was. I was ashamed to say to somebody that I was feeling this way and I couldn't handle it. And then it was only when I started to speak about it to a friend who said, "Oh, Mary, let's get you some help," that I started to feel better. So
how do you define true power, true strength these days?
How do I define true power through strength? Or nowadays, you know what it is, Valeria? Waking up every morning.
Yes,
that's it.
Right.
Just get up and get out of bed. Start there. I think that's what gives me the strength. If I could get up, get out of bed, because many times when you look around what's going on around you and what we just experienced, you just want to stay in bed all day.
Yeah.
And it's just taking that one step, one simple step, one step in front of the other. Not
to take too much in.
And there's one thing that I don't do well, and I always tell myself, if I could just find this, like you said, to live in the moment, if you can just live in that moment that you're in, instead of thinking ahead, okay, an hour from now, 3 hours from now, 3 days from now, a month from now, you can live in that moment, that inner peace will find you. And I struggle with that, to live in the moment.
We all do. I do a lot of practices, meditation, you name it, all these practices, but it still happens. So I'm wondering, what does it take to get to the point of always being in the moment? Is that something that we will continue to practice? Or do you trust that one day we'll get there and find peace and stay grounded in this very moment?
I think it takes practice. I think you have to physically scold yourself and say, okay, stay in this moment. Yes, and then maybe it'll just attach to yourself somehow.
That really sounds wise to me. It sounds good, right? It's a practice. It's almost like we are training a part of us that's not used to stay still. We are unlearning some of the lessons we have learned, or the conditions that we have acquired throughout life. We're almost at the end, and I do have another question for you. The phrase where you say, which is, I love that, never, ever give up on yourself. How do we know the difference between giving up and letting go and surrender to whatever is happening? Trust, in a sense.
I think to let go is something that has reached a point in your life that you cannot do anything else about it. And if you let it go, then you get that inner peace, okay? Be it a relationship, be it something that you really, really wanted, but you're not going to get, and you finally just let it go. That, I think, to me, that's the difference. Whereas the other one, to never, ever give up on yourself, is if you have that soul-wrenching dream that gives you the passion to wake up every day and continue, that will still give you happiness every day. And you'll never want to give up. And then all of a sudden, it's like, there's this cosmic thing that happens. Some things just fall into place. Boom, 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 boom. And that's having trust, right? In a higher power, a trust in yourself, just having that faith and a gratefulness.
Yes, that's another component. Yeah, beautiful one.
Because in our lives, it's not like every day is just perfect. 24 hours a day, if we wrote down everything that happened, probably most of it is negative, right?
I hope not, but yeah, perhaps for some of us, it might be, right? Especially if we are focusing on that. I try not to focus. I don't watch TV, and I don't focus on anything that's, it's a focus thing. It's an interesting, I have learned that. I pay attention to whatever fulfills my heart and my soul, that makes me light. Perhaps not happy all the time, but light and peaceful. I'm always attracted to those things. So we're almost at the end. I do have a few more questions. Before that, Mary, would you like to add anything that you left unsaid or read a passage in one of your books?
I think if I read a passage in my book, we would go well over time. Yeah. But again, it's just like never give up on yourself. And, if you're looking for a little escape, you can find it in reading. There's so many beautiful novels out there that give you, that you like, just movies too. We walk away from a movie and we have a joy in our life, and books give that to us too. And that's what I love to do. I love to write in a fantasy to inspire people and to give them joy and happiness. Yeah, I have bad things that happen and twists and turns, but that's what makes a good novel, right?
Yeah, that's part of life for sure. Yeah.
And I would love people to visit me on my author website, www.maryk Savarese.com. You can connect with me there, and I offer a lot of things there.
Wonderful. I'll have those links. I have 2 websites, actually. I'll have them on your podcast profile
thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. What 3 experiences you wish everyone to have before they lose the body, before they die?
Before they lose the body? Well, obviously, the most obvious, love, a true love, right? And 2 other experiences, the joy of responsibility, because I have always found when something is handed to me, I do not appreciate it as if I've earned it myself, right? And then the third is to find, and really probably should have been the first, right? To find that, like, for everybody, it's a different journey, but to find that faith, because life is hard. And if you have a reason to have faith and believe in a higher power, it makes your life easier. And then, within my faith, I believe that when this life is over, that there is an eternity for us.
Yes, right. So having faith is very important, which I call trust again, but it's the same thing. Thank you so much, Mary, for the messages that you are delivering to this reality. It's very much needed. Deeper messages of love, of truth, of faith, as you call it. And I love the way you deliver the message too, in a fun way. It's important to have fun in this human experience.
Absolutely. If we're always walking around with the frown.
Yes. Yes. So listening to you, it's a lot of fun. So, I can imagine reading your books. So you're a lot of fun. Thank you so much for adding that piece too. We need that. Thank you again, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now, Mary.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Mary K. Savarese and her work, please visit maryksavarese.com and StarWritersTrilogy.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.